Blind Faith Live. Real people, real miracles.
He put his hand on my left shoulder blade, the scapula, and he just held his hand there, and I felt it shift and move back into place.
Living in separation from the will of God allows us to be subject to the natural laws that apply here. And this world is defective. I mean, we are surrounded by defective things. Everything dies because the fall happened as a result of that mind falling or deciding to have an existence in separation from that unity, that mind that is fully focused on the well-being of everybody else and forgetting about the self. So we suffer the consequences, physically speaking.
That's why people sometimes believe, though, that the God is just out and out punishing them. Why is God doing this to me? And that's the misconception in that.
Yeah, that's why it's important to go back to the basics. The God of this world is the devil. And the majority of the people do not have that realization. And they forget that we are the ones who decide which laws apply to us. If I am physical in nature, then the physical law is going to apply, and that physical law here, the natural law, is 100% influenced by that evil guy. You see, that devil. So I cannot blame God for anything bad happens to me. My God is a perfect one. My God is an infinitely just and infinitely loving and merciful one. So how can I even remotely think that he is behind anything I suffer from?
But, we look at a Dr. Issam Naimi who has more experiences and closer to God than anyone we know. And you suffer. I know you have a lot of physical sufferings. And it's almost like, well, if that man can't get to a point where there's such a perfect connection that it doesn't have to deal with the ruler of this world, and yet you're still dealing with the fallen nature, even yourself.
Of course, and deal with that. Not only this is a good reminder too for me about my nature to begin with, and the fallen nature. Here we are part of this world. Not only this, things that are happening are so great. So it will not leave any doubt in anybody's mind that guy is not the one who is doing the healing. You see? Just like Jesus told St. Paul the same thing, I'm going to leave that thorn in your flesh because God in weakness is glorified. You see? So people will not be shifting their attention towards the human being. You see? And I'm asked that question so many times, and I run away from it. What kind of gift and all of that. I mean, that's not the real, the reality, when we are living, for Jesus, It's more complicated than that,
It says a lot, though. And it says a lot how, and I like the way you just said that. Look what God is doing through you, despite the fact that you are also part of this fallen world, and you do not have the perfection that you wish you had in yourself.
Yeah, if I have the perfection, then I will completely abstain from everything and even eating. And we went through that before, that kind of a talk. Mm-hmm. Then they are so highly spiritual, and you become almost a separate entity completely from a different world, actually.
And we've talked about those experiences, and I can't remember the woman's name, who survived for, 40, 50 years on Eucharist alone?
Yes, and that's not the only case. We have so many examples of that,
But that tells you, that's what you're talking about, though, on that spiritual level, to be so pure, so not of this world, that could sustain you?
But let's not forget one very important thing. Our Lord sat down and dined with them. You see, You have to be, we have to be part of this world. And that's the subject that we always talk about. I have to be part, you have to be part, every one of us as Christians, part of this world in order for us to be able to redeem it. Because we are part of the redemptive act. You see, when we think about small issues like that, our mind tends to shift towards thinking about generalizing, let's say, like the part of the suffering, making it, then a result of your sin, but not necessarily. That's why it's not good to judge anyone when it comes to their illness. You don't look at people that are sick and you say, oh, because they are sinful. This is a great sin if we do.
Why is the blind man blind? Is it his sin or his parents' sin?
Exactly. We cannot judge anybody or even allow our mind to venture that way, because this is not from God. That type of thinking is not from Jesus. And the most important one is in our mind. Abstain from things in our mind. It's not abstaining from eating bread or eating this or eating that. This is so pre-Jesus, I would say.
Pre-Jesus.
Yes. Pre-Jesus, it's more physical again, even though it has some beautiful spiritual effect. I mean, anytime you abstain from anything physical, then you are depriving your physical consciousness from something that is a part of this world. So, and automatically you start shifting towards more spiritual. That's why people fast and they feel closer to God and stuff like this. I'm not undermining that part. But the real thing is about the mind. You see, I strive to purify my mind in such a way, abstain from having any reactions, let's say, or any thoughts about anyone that is especially nasty to you, or people that are bad to you. Not to react, to block your mind, prevent it from delving into any type of bad feelings and stuff like that. That's the real abstinence in there. That's when you really reap the results, the spiritual results, and get a deeper type of spiritual connection with the Lord. It's a matter of discipline of mind. I block it. I will not allow my mind to go deep into any feeling like this. Even if people are hurting me, let's say. I cannot allow that. And it becomes a discipline of mind. You see, the thought comes to your mind, but you willfully start blocking it. I should jump right to Jesus every time, And it becomes such a discipline. He protects you after that. No bad thoughts. Okay, you go into quietness that way. And I experienced that a lot in here, to tell you the truth. It's a mystery, sort of. You are physical, and yet that physical mind is so quiet. Because the physical mind is what connects you to this world. And suddenly you undergo a switch. It reminds me of the babies, because the babies are more spiritual than physical. You see? So you revert back to being like a baby. And as a matter of fact, with them being less physical makes it much more powerful for them when it comes to their mind affecting matter, because that's the time at which they are establishing the physical connection, with the body. You see? But after they become more physical, 5-6 years, and the spiritual fades away and they become more physical. They have amnesia, actually, to the experiences, how they connected to their body. And here, when you do that in your mind, you revert back to that place where those babies are, really. And I feel that very deeply.
Go through that again. I mean, in terms of, we were just talking about how when somebody does something, you want to react, and you have to kind of go against self almost and not react. Are you referring to the babies in that regard too?
Yeah, I'm referring to those babies in that regard. And if people would observe those youngsters, they keep no bad feeling whatsoever. Whatsoever.
No matter what you do to them?
No matter what you do to them. During that period of time, they are so fully forgiving. Yeah. There is no bad misinterpretation, of anything that they are surrounded by.
Till we hit about what, 4 or 5?
4 or 5, and they say, look, the personality is shaping up now, and they have the ego now developing,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
But that's an evidence, for us, actually, if you really think about it, because that's what happens to us. The more you give up with your mind, when it comes to your perception of the world, or your reaction with the world they are living in, the physical reaction, the more spiritual you become, and all of a sudden, that physical mind is quiet, totally quiet. Like, we'll be talking, let's say, especially about spiritual matters. When I stop the sentence, I have no thought whatsoever, physically speaking. It stops totally. Yeah, and it's a law. It's a law.
Yeah.
How I wish every human being would realize that. Because they could turn so highly spiritual in no time, just by realizing those small things, So no wonder Jesus was telling them, you have to turn back, be like children. Mm-hmm. You see, it's significant.